The space around the Dauntless erupted in light and fire. 47 Vothene warships unleashed everything they had. Plasma torpedoes, particle beams, and kinetic missiles filled the void. The barrage was so intense that the human ship disappeared behind a wall of explosions. On the bridge, Jiwoo watched the tactical display calmly. The ship shook slightly, but it felt more like a gentle vibration than the devastating assault it actually was. She glanced at Daeun. "Shield status?" she asked. Daeun smiled, her eyes bright with excitement. "Shields at 91% and holding steady, Captain. Their weapons can't even scratch us. It's actually kind of beautiful. All that energy just washing over our defensive grid." The bombardment continued for 43 seconds. Every ship in the Vothene fleet fired continuously, pouring thousands of weapon shots into the single human vessel. Then, as their weapons overheated and their energy reserves depleted, they stopped. Silence fell across the battlefield. The explosions faded, the energy dissipated, and there, completely untouched, the Dauntless floated in space. Its shields shimmered with a faint blue glow, but otherwise it looked exactly as it had before the attack. "Hanyul, what are they saying?" Jiwoo asked. The communications officer listened to the intercepted alien chatter, her expression becoming more surprised by the second. "They're confused, Captain. Terrified, actually. One of their science officers is trying to explain to the fleet commander that our shields operate on principles they don't understand. He's saying we might be using some kind of dimensional barrier technology." "He's close," Daeun said. "Our shields do redirect energy into alternate dimensional spaces. We've been using this technology for 30 years now. I'm surprised they haven't figured it out yet." Jiwoo stood up. "It's time to end this. Taemin, begin Operation Cleanup. Disable their weapons and engines. Work from the outside in, give them time to see what's happening. No casualties." "Understood, Captain," Taemin replied. His fingers danced across his console. "Beginning systematic neutralization, starting with the outer ring of vessels." The Dauntless came alive. Its railguns tracked and fired with mechanical precision. Tiny projectiles, each no bigger than a fist, shot out at incredible speeds. They crossed the distance to the Vothene ships in milliseconds. The first alien ship shuddered as the railgun rounds struck. Every weapon mount exploded in quick succession. Then its engines went dark. The ship was still intact, its hull barely damaged, but it was completely helpless. The crew was alive, but their vessel was dead in space. 1 second later, the ship next to it suffered the same fate. Then another, and another. The Dauntless moved through the enemy fleet like a surgeon with a scalpel, cutting away their ability to fight without causing unnecessary harm. Aboard the Vothene flagship, Fleet Commander Thexlar watched in growing horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled. His science officer, Crix, studied the tactical data with wide eyes. "Commander," Crix said urgently, "we need to retreat, now. This human ship is using weapons technology we've never encountered. Their targeting systems are perfect. They're hitting specific components from thousands of kilometers away while moving at combat speed. This is impossible." "Silence," Thexlar roared. "Vothene warriors do not retreat. We are the masters of this galaxy. These humans are nothing but primitive newcomers." "But Commander, the data doesn't lie," Crix insisted. "Their kinetic weapons are accelerated to 0.3% of light speed. Their artificial intelligence systems process tactical information hundreds of times faster than ours. And their shields." Another explosion rocked the flagship as its port weapons array was destroyed. Thexlar stumbled, catching himself on a console. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically, but nothing they did made any difference. On the Dauntless bridge, Taemin continued his work methodically. 30 ships disabled, Captain. 17 to go. Total elapsed time, 3 minutes, 40 seconds. Dr. Sung-ho stood near Jiwoo watching the display. "This feels wrong, Captain. Even though we're not killing them, we're destroying their pride. Their whole understanding of the galaxy is being shattered." "I know, Doctor," Jiwoo said quietly. "But they gave us no choice. Sometimes the only way to prevent a bigger tragedy is to show overwhelming force. Better their pride is hurt than their people are killed." Another 10 seconds passed. Another 5 Vothene ships went dark. The remaining Vessels tried to maneuver, tried to get away, but the Dauntless was faster. Its targeting computers predicted their movements before they even started. Final ship disabled, Taman announced. All hostile vessels neutralized. Total time, 4 minutes, 17 seconds. 0 casualties on either side. Jiwoo let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Stand down from battle stations, Hanul. Open a channel to the Vothine flagship. Channel open, Captain. Fleet Commander Thexlar, this is Captain Jiwoo. As you can see, we have disabled your entire fleet. However, we have caused no casualties. Your crews are safe. Your ships can be repaired. We did this to prove a point. Humanity does not want war. We want peace. But we will defend ourselves if necessary. There was a long silence. When Thexlar finally spoke, his voice was barely more than a whisper. What are you? Jiwoo considered her answer carefully. We are humans. We come from a world where survival meant constant adaptation and innovation. For thousands of years we fought each other, developed weapons, created defenses. We learned through pain and loss. Our technology grew out of necessity, not luxury. And now we're here in your galaxy hoping to find friends instead of enemies. You could have killed us all, Thexlar said. Yes, Jiwoo agreed. But what would that prove? That we're powerful? You already know that now. Killing you would only make us murderers. We're better than that. On the Vothine flagship, Crix was analyzing the battle data frantically. The numbers told an incredible story. The human ship had fired exactly 819 times. Each shot had hit its intended target with perfect accuracy. Not a single round was wasted. Not a single shot missed. He looked at the shield analysis and felt his scales tingle with fear. During the entire battle, the human shields had dropped to only 86%. 47 ships firing everything they had for nearly 5 minutes, and they'd only managed to deplete 14% of the enemy's defensive capacity. Commander, Crix said, you need to see this. Their technology isn't just advanced, it's revolutionary. If they shared even a fraction of what they have, it would transform our entire civilization. Thexlar looked at the data, his expression unreadable. Pride and humiliation warred across his reptilian features. Finally, he spoke into the communication channel. Captain Jiwoo, the Vothine Empire recognizes its error. We attacked without provocation. We refused to listen to reason. We have been taught a harsh lesson today. I'm sending medical teams to assist your crews, Jiwoo replied, and engineering teams to help with repairs. We're not your enemies, Commander. I hope someday we can be your friends. Before Thexlar could respond, Hanul suddenly looked up from her console. Captain, we have multiple FTL signatures incoming. Big ones, really big. Over 200 ships just entered the system. The tactical display updated. A massive fleet appeared surrounding both the Dauntless and the disabled Vothine vessels. Ships of a dozen different designs representing multiple alien species. I'm receiving a transmission, Hanul said. It's from the Galactic Council Enforcement Armada. They're ordering us to surrender immediately or be destroyed. Jiwoo looked at the overwhelming force now arrayed against her single ship. She glanced at her crew, saw their trust in her leadership, and made her decision. Hanul, transmit all our battle recordings to the Council fleet. Show them everything that happened here. And tell them we'll gladly discuss the situation peacefully. She sat back in her chair and smiled grimly. Looks like we're about to meet the neighbors. Let's hope they're more reasonable than the last ones. The attack on Mars Research Station Alpha came at 3 a.m, station time. 6 ships appeared from nowhere, using stolen Council identification codes to bypass the first layer of security. They moved fast, heading straight for the main research facility. But they weren't fast enough. The Dauntless had arrived 12 hours earlier and was waiting in silent mode, powered down and hidden among the orbital debris. Jiwoo watched the raiders approach on passive sensors. They're breaking formation, Taman observed. 3 ships heading for the research facility, 2 for the manufacturing complex, 1 staying back as a command vessel. Classic smash and grab, Jiwoo said. They want to get in, steal what they can, and get out before we respond. They don't know we're already here. Should we hail them, Captain? Hanul asked. No, Jiwoo replied coldly. They came here to hurt civilians and steal our work. They don't deserve a warning. Tae-min, disable all 6 ships. Now. The Dauntless came alive. Its engines flared to full power. Its weapon systems locked on to all 6 targets simultaneously. Before the raiders even realized they weren't alone, it was over. 6 railgun shots. 6 disabled ships. The entire engagement lasted less than 10 seconds. The raider vessels tumbled, helplessly in space, their engines dead, their weapons offline. Inside, the crew scrambled in panic, trying to understand what had just happened. Marines are standing by, Captain, Hanul reported, ready to board and secure the vessels. Send them, Jiwoo ordered. I want prisoners, I want their computers, and I want answers. Similar scenes played out at Titan and Proxima Centauri B. Human Defense Forces, warned by Jiwoo's message, were ready. They captured raider ships and crews at all 3 locations. Within hours, Earth Command had a treasure trove of intelligence. Lieutenant Hanul led the interrogations personally. She was patient and methodical, using her linguistic skills to understand not just what the prisoners said, but what they meant. The truth came out slowly, piece by piece. The Preservation Pact wasn't just a group of concerned aliens. It was a conspiracy that reached high into the governments of 4 major council species. They'd been planning this for weeks, ever since the Sigma Draconis incident. Their goal was to reverse engineer human technology and use it to maintain their own dominance. They're scared, Hanul explained to Jiwoo during a briefing. Their entire economies are based on technologies they've used for centuries. If human innovations spread freely, their companies become worthless overnight. Their military advantages disappear. They see us as an existential threat. So they decided to steal rather than trade, Jiwoo said. Short-sighted and stupid. Actually, Captain, it makes sense from their perspective, Dr. Sung-ho said. He'd been reviewing the psychological profiles. Fear makes people do irrational things. They saw us as replacements, not partners. They couldn't imagine a future where both humans and aliens prospered together. Earth's united government was furious. They'd been preparing for peaceful first contact, and now they'd been attacked. The president called an emergency session and delivered an ultimatum to the Galactic Council. Justice for the conspirators, or humanity would withdraw from all diplomatic engagement and establish a defensive perimeter around their space. Velshara received the ultimatum with satisfaction. She'd been gathering evidence against the Preservation Pact for weeks, and now she had everything she needed. She called for a public trial on neutral ground with representatives from every council species present. The trial was broadcast across the galaxy. Billions of beings watched as the evidence was presented. Communications logs showing the conspiracy, testimony from captured raiders, financial records proving the involvement of high-ranking officials. The case was overwhelming. Jiwoo testified, via hologram, standing before the council and explaining the attacks in clear, simple terms. She showed footage of the raids. She displayed the weapons the raiders had brought, designed specifically to capture and transport humans. She proved beyond doubt that this was a coordinated attempt to steal technology and kidnap scientists. The council was shocked. Many had suspected corruption, but the scale of the conspiracy surprised everyone. When the votes were counted, the verdict was unanimous. Guilty. Several high-ranking officials were stripped of their positions. 2 entire governments fell. The Preservation Pact was destroyed, but Jiwoo wasn't finished. When it was her turn to speak again, she made an announcement that stunned the galaxy. Humanity doesn't want to hoard our technology, she said. We're not interested in keeping secrets or maintaining advantages. We believe that shared knowledge benefits everyone, so we're making an offer. We'll establish joint research facilities on neutral worlds. We'll share our innovations with any species that wants to learn. Not as a gift, but as partners working together. The silence in the council chamber was absolute. No one had expected this. The humans, who had every right to be angry and defensive, were offering cooperation instead. Why? Someone asked. Why would you share such valuable secrets? Jiwoo smiled. Because that's what civilized beings do. We learned long ago that competition can drive innovation, but cooperation drives civilization. If we all work together, everyone benefits. If we all hoard and fight, everyone loses. Velshara's antennae quivered with what might have been approval. The Erythian Collective accepts this proposal. We would be honored to participate in joint research. Other species quickly followed. Even some who had been suspicious of humans now saw them in a new light. The humans weren't conquerors or hoarders. They were teachers. They were partners. They were exactly what the galaxy needed. On the Vothian homeworld, former fleet commander Thexlar watched the proceedings from his home. He'd been removed from command after the Sigma Draconis incident, but he'd been allowed to retire with honor. He watched Jiwoo speak and felt something he hadn't expected. Respect. Science Officer Crick sat beside him. The younger Vothian had become an advisor to their new military leadership, helping to rebuild their fleet with lessons learned from the humans. She's right, Thexlar said quietly. We should have talked instead of fought. We should have learned instead of attacked. I was a fool. You were following your training, Commander, Crix replied. The Empire taught us to see every unknown as a threat. The humans are teaching us something different. They're teaching us to see possibilities instead. As the trial concluded and the Council began planning the joint research facilities, something happened that changed everything. Long-range probes at the edge of the galaxy detected something massive approaching, something that didn't respond to hails, something that destroyed everything in its path. The first reports came in within days. 3 civilizations on the galactic rim had gone silent. Their worlds were dark. Their ships were debris. Something was coming, and it was unstoppable. The Council convened an emergency session. Scientists analyzed the data from the few probes that had survived. What they found terrified them. The Harvester Fleet, an ancient automated armada from a civilization long dead, still following its original programming. Consume all resources, eliminate all sentient life, expand forever. Thousands of ships, each one a self-replicating war machine, and they were heading straight for Council space. Velshara stood before the Council, her usual calm shaken. Traditional warfare will not stop them. They learn from every battle, adapt to every tactic. 3 civilizations have already fallen. In 6 months they'll reach our core worlds. Then what do we do? Someone shouted. How do we fight something that can't be reasoned with? Velshara looked at the holographic image of Captain Jiwoo, who was attending the session remotely. We ask the humans for help. We ask them to lead our defense, and we pray that their technology is as good as we think it is. All eyes turned to Jiwoo, the human captain who had shown such restraint, such wisdom, such capability. The question hung in the air. Would humanity save a galaxy that had attacked them? Would they risk themselves for aliens who had been strangers just weeks ago? Jiwoo didn't hesitate. Earth will help. Send us everything you have on these harvesters. We'll start analyzing their patterns immediately. And Counselor Velshara? Yes, Captain? Start building. We're going to need a lot of ships. The Galactic Council fleet was impressive. Over 200 warships from a dozen different species, all armed and ready. Jiwoo studied them on her tactical display, noting their formations and weapon systems. If they attacked, even the Dauntless would have trouble. Captain, I'm receiving a communication from the Council flagship, Hanul reported. It's Counselor Velshara of the Erythian Collective. She wants to speak with you directly. Put her through, Jiwoo said, standing up and straightening her uniform. The main screen changed to show an insectoid alien. Velshara had 4 arms, compound eyes that shimmered with different colors and delicate antennae that moved constantly. Despite her alien appearance, her body language seemed calm and thoughtful. Captain Jiwoo, Velshara said, her voice surprisingly musical. I have reviewed the battle recordings you transmitted. They are most interesting. You disabled an entire Vothian fleet without killing a single crew member. This is unusual behavior. We believe in using the minimum force necessary, Counselor, Jiwoo replied. The Vothian attacked us without cause. We defended ourselves, but we saw no reason to kill when disabling their ships would work just as well. Velshara's antennae twitched. Yet you possess weapons capable of destroying planets, do you not? Your railguns operating at the speeds we detected could crack a world's crust if fired at full power. Jiwoo didn't deny it. Yes, Counselor. We have powerful weapons, but having power and using it recklessly are two different things. We're not conquerors. We're explorers who happen to be very good at defending ourselves. Fascinating, Velshara said. She turned to someone off-screen. Admiral Kresh, stand down your weapons. These humans are not the threat we were told about. She looked back at Jiwoo. Captain, I would like to visit your ship. I wish to understand your people better. Would you permit this? Jiwoo smiled. You're welcome aboard, Counselor. I'll have Lieutenant Hanul arrange a docking protocol. 2 hours later, Velshara and a small delegation of council representatives walked through the corridors of the Dauntless. They marveled at everything. The smooth walls that could withstand extreme punishment. The lighting that adjusted automatically. The air that smelled clean and fresh despite recycling systems. Commander Da-Yun led them through the engineering section, explaining the basics of human technology. The aliens listened with rapt attention, occasionally asking questions through Hanul, who served as translator. Your power systems are remarkable, one of the aliens said, a tall, crystal-based being who sparkled in the light. They produce 3 times the energy of our largest reactors, yet they're only a fraction of the size. Da-Yun beamed with pride. We've had a lot of practice making things efficient. On Earth, space and resources were always limited, so we learned to do more with less. Every system on this ship has backup systems, and those have backup systems. We call it redundancy. Paranoia, more like, Velshara observed. You build as if expecting everything to fail at once. Because sometimes it does, Da-Yun replied cheerfully. In our history, we've lost ships because a single component failed. We learned from those mistakes. Now, a Dauntless-class cruiser can lose half its systems and still fight effectively. The tour continued to the medical bay, where Dr. Sung-Ho showed them the advanced medical equipment, then to the crew quarters, which the aliens found surprisingly comfortable. Finally, they returned to the bridge where Jiwoo waited. I must report this to the Council, Velshara said. Your technology represents a significant shift in the galactic balance of power. Many species will be concerned. Some will be frightened. And what will you recommend, Counselor? Jiwoo asked. Velshara's compound eyes seemed to glow. That we invite humanity to join the Galactic Council. That we learn from you and share what we know in return. Fear leads to conflict. Cooperation leads to prosperity. Not everyone will agree with you, Jiwoo warned. Some will want to stop us, contain us, maybe even attack us. Oh, I know, Velshara said. Politics are complicated, Captain. But I am very good at politics. Trust me. Over the next week, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Ships from across known space gathered at the neutral station called Unity Point. Debates raged. Some species argued that humanity should be welcomed. Others demanded that humans be restricted to their own space. A few even suggested preemptive action to prevent humans from becoming too powerful. Velshara presented her case eloquently. She showed videos of the battle, emphasizing human restraint and precision. She shared data from her tour of the Dauntless, explaining how human technology could benefit all Council species. She reminded the Council that fear and suspicion had led to countless wars throughout history. We stand at a crossroads, Velshara said to the assembled Council. We can embrace humanity as equals and grow stronger together. Or we can push them away, make them our enemies, and ensure future conflict. The choice seems obvious to me. The vote was close, but it passed. Humanity would be invited to join the Galactic Council. Formal first contact protocols would begin immediately. Earth's government received the news with joy and caution. They appointed ambassadors and prepared for the greatest diplomatic challenge in human history. But not everyone was happy with the Council's decision. In a secret meeting on a forgotten moon, representatives from 4 species gathered. They called themselves the Preservation Pact. Their goal was simple: steal human technology before humans realized their full potential. The Council is making a mistake, one of them said, a slug-like creature with multiple eyes. If humans are allowed to spread unchecked, they'll make all of us obsolete. Our economies will collapse. Our civilizations will become irrelevant. Then we take what we need, another agreed. A being made of living metal. We raid their colonies. We capture their scientists. We steal their secrets and use them for ourselves. But carefully, a third cautioned. If the Council discovers our involvement, we'll be expelled. We must use proxies, mercenaries, anyone who can't be traced back to us. They made their plans in the shadows. They gathered ships and recruited crews. They identified targets: Mars Research Station Alpha, Titan Colony, and the outpost on Proxima Centauri B. Places where humans studied their most advanced technologies. Places that seemed vulnerable. They didn't know that Velshara had spies everywhere. They didn't realize she was already suspicious of them. And they certainly didn't expect her to warn the humans. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Jiwoo read Velshara's encrypted message with growing anger. The counselor had risked her position to send this warning. She'd provided names, locations, and timetables for the planned raids. Ha-Nul, send a priority message to Earth Command, Jiwoo ordered.
Tell them we have intelligence about an imminent attack on our colonies.
And plot a course for Mars, maximum speed. Mars, Captain? Ha-Nul asked. That's where Commander Da-Un's former colleagues work. Exactly, Jiwoo said grimly. The Preservation Pact is about to learn what happens when you threaten human civilians. They thought we were dangerous when we were defending ourselves in space. Wait until they see what we do when we're protecting our families. The Dauntless engaged its FTL drive and vanished, racing toward Mars. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued its diplomatic celebrations, unaware that a shadow war was about to begin. A war that would force humanity to prove once again that their technology wasn't their greatest strength. Their determination was. Captain Kang Ji-woo sat in her command chair, watching the stars drift past on the main screen. The KNSV Dauntless had been on patrol for 3 weeks now, mapping the outer edges of human space. It was routine work, the kind that made her crew relaxed and a little bored. That was about to change. Captain, I'm picking up 3 unknown ships dropping out of FTL, Lieutenant Ha-Nul said from her communications station. Her voice was calm, but Jiwoo heard the tension underneath. They're surrounding us. Jiwoo straightened in her chair. In all her years of service, humanity had never encountered another intelligent species. Until now. Show me, she ordered. 3 large vessels appeared on the tactical display, forming a triangle around the Dauntless. They were sleek and angular, covered in what looked like metallic scales that glowed with a faint purple light. Each ship was about twice the size of her cruiser. Lieutenant Commander Tae-min status report, Jiwoo said to her weapons officer. Tae-min studied his console, his face showing no emotion. Their weapons are active and locked on us. But Captain, their technology looks old. Really old. I'd say they're using plasma-based systems, maybe early-generation energy weapons. Ha-Nul, try to establish communication, Jiwoo ordered. The young lieutenant worked her console quickly. I'm sending greetings in multiple languages and mathematical sequences. Wait, I'm getting a response. Audio only, translating now. A harsh, hissing voice filled the bridge. Human vessel, you have violated Vothine Imperial space. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in destruction. Jiwoo took a slow breath. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. This is Captain Kang Ji-woo of the Korean naval space vessel Dauntless. We mean no harm. Our navigation system shows this as neutral space. We apologize for any misunderstanding and request permission to leave peacefully. There was a long pause. Then the voice returned, even angrier. You dare question Vothine authority? Your primitive maps mean nothing. You will surrender now, or we will take your ship by force. You have 30 seconds to comply. Commander Da-Yoon, the chief engineer, spoke up from her station. Captain, I've analyzed their hull composition and power signatures. These ships are centuries behind our technology. Their shields couldn't stop a training missile. Jiwoo nodded slowly. She didn't want to fight, but she also wouldn't let her crew be captured. Ha-Nul, send one more message. Tell them we're leaving. If they fire on us, we'll defend ourselves. The response came in the form of weapons fire. Bright purple bolts of energy shot from all 3 alien ships, converging on the Dauntless. The bridge lights flickered slightly as the plasma torpedoes struck the shields. Shield status? Jiwoo asked calmly. Da-Un looked at her readings and smiled. Shields at 97%, Captain. Their weapons barely registered. It's like being hit with pebbles. On the main screen, Jiwoo could see the alien ships preparing to fire again. More ships were appearing on sensors, dropping out of FTL. 5 more, then 10. Soon there were 20 Vothine vessels surrounding them. They're calling for reinforcements, Ha-Nul reported. I'm intercepting their communications. They're confused, Captain. They can't understand why we're still here. Jiwoo made her decision. She had tried peace. She had tried to leave. Now she needed to show these aliens that humanity was not prey. Taemin, target the lead ship. Disable their weapons only. I want precision, no casualties. Yes, Captain, Taemin replied. His fingers moved across his console with practiced ease. Railgun charged and locked, firing. The Dauntless shuddered slightly as it fired. On the main screen, the lead alien ship suddenly erupted in small explosions along its hull. Every weapon emplacement was surgically destroyed in less than 2 seconds. The ship itself remained intact, its crew unharmed, but it was now helpless. Complete silence fell across all frequencies. The alien fleet stopped moving, stopped firing. They just floated in space, apparently trying to understand what had just happened. Hanul, open a channel, Jiwoo said quietly. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Jiwoo. We have no desire for conflict. As you can see, we could have destroyed your lead ship, but we chose not to. We only disabled its weapons. Please allow us to leave in peace, and there will be no further incidents. Another voice came through, different from the first, older, deeper, and filled with cold fury. I am Fleet Commander Thexlar of the Vothian Imperial Fleet. You have humiliated my forces. You have attacked a vessel of the Empire. This cannot stand. Jiwoo closed her eyes briefly. She had hoped to avoid this. Commander Thexlar, we attacked no one. We defended ourselves after being fired upon. Surely you can see the difference. Lies. Deception. Typical of primitive species. Thexlar roared. You will pay for your arrogance. I am bringing my entire fleet to this location. 47 ships. You cannot stand against such power. Surrender now or be destroyed. The channel went dead. Jiwoo looked around at her bridge crew. They were all watching her, waiting for orders. Dr. Sung-ho had come up from medical bay and stood near the door, his face worried. Captain, he said softly, there must be another way. Surely we can talk to them, make them understand. I've tried, Dr. Jiwoo replied. Some people won't listen until they have no choice. Taemin spoke up. Captain, sensors show 47 Vothian ships entering the system. They're forming an attack formation around us. We're completely surrounded. Da-un checked her engineering console. All systems are ready, Captain. Shields at full power. Weapons charged. We can handle this. Jiwoo stood up from her chair and walked to the main screen. She looked at the alien fleet gathering around them. 47 ships against 1. In any normal situation, it would be suicide to fight. But this was not a normal situation. All hands battle stations, she ordered. Prepare for combat. But remember, we disable only. No killing unless absolutely necessary. We're not monsters. We're the good guys and we'll prove it. The crew responded immediately. Across the ship, people moved to their positions. Damage control teams stood ready. Medical bay prepared for casualties that hopefully wouldn't come. On the main screen, the Vothian fleet completed its formation. Every ship had its weapons pointed at the Dauntless. Jiwoo could almost feel the hatred radiating from them. They thought they had trapped a helpless victim. They had no idea what human engineering could really do. Captain, Hanul said, I'm receiving a transmission from Thexlar. He's giving us one last chance to surrender. Decline, Jiwoo said simply. And send this message. We are sorry it has come to this. She sat back down in her chair and gripped the armrests. All crew brace for impact. This is going to be interesting. The Vothian fleet opened fire. The shipyards of Earth worked day and night. Massive facilities that had been building colony ships were now producing warships. But these weren't just human vessels. They were a new kind of ship, combining human technology with alien design principles. The United Defense Force was being born. Captain Kang Jiwoo had been promoted to Fleet Admiral. She stood on the bridge of her new flagship, the KNSV Unity, a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even the Dauntless. Around her, representatives from a dozen species worked side by side, learning human systems and teaching their own expertise. Commander Da-un had her hands full. She led hundreds of engineering teams across the galaxy, upgrading alien ships with human shields and weapons. The work was exhausting, but she loved every minute of it. Vothian cruisers, Erythian destroyers, even ships from species Jiwoo had never heard of, all getting the human treatment. The problem, Da-un explained to a group of alien engineers, is that your ships were built for efficiency, not survival. You assumed your enemies would be similar to you. But the harvesters don't care about efficiency. They just want to destroy. So we need to make your ships tougher. She showed them how to install redundant systems, how to reinforce hulls without adding too much mass, how to create power grids that could reroute around damage. The aliens learned quickly. Some of their ideas even surprised Da-un. showing her new ways to apply human technology. Lieutenant Commander Taman ran the largest training program in history. Thousands of alien weapons officers came to learn human combat doctrine. He taught them about precision targeting, about conservation of ammunition, about making every shot count. Your traditional tactics won't work, he told a class of Vothian students. Crick sat in the front row taking notes eagerly. The harvesters adapt. They learn. If you show them a pattern, they'll counter it. So we have to be unpredictable, creative. We have to think like humans. Lieutenant Hanul became the communication backbone of the entire operation. She created translation protocols that worked in real time, allowing ships from different species to coordinate instantly. She also monitored intelligence reports, watching for any sign of the approaching harvester fleet. They're 3 months out, she reported during a strategy meeting. They've consumed 2 more systems. Current count is over 8,000 ships, and they're building more as they go. Admiral Jiwoo studied the tactical display. 8,000 harvester ships against their fleet of 6,000. The numbers weren't encouraging. But numbers weren't everything. We can't meet them head on, she said. We need to be smart about this. We lure them into a trap, hit them where they're weak, and make every engagement count. Velshara, now serving as Jiwoo's chief advisor, nodded her agreement. The rift of Centaurus would be ideal. Gravitational anomalies make FTL travel difficult. If we can force them to fight there, their numbers advantage is reduced. Then that's where we make our stand, Jiwoo decided. 2 months later, the United Defense Force took up positions near the rift. 6,000 ships from 30 different species, all working together under human leadership. It was the largest military force ever assembled in known history. The harvesters came exactly when Hanul predicted. They dropped out of FTL in a massive wave, their ships blotting out the stars. They were identical geometric shapes, black as void, covered in weapon ports and sensors. They moved with perfect coordination like a single organism. All ships hold position, Jiwoo ordered. Her voice was calm, but her crew could see the tension in her shoulders. This was it. Everything they'd worked for came down to this moment. The harvesters opened fire first. Beams of pure energy lanced across the void. Missiles by the thousands streaked toward the Allied fleet. It was overwhelming, devastating, the kind of firepower that had destroyed 3 civilizations. But the Allied fleet held. Human shields absorbed the energy. Upgraded alien point defense systems shot down the missiles. Ships that took damage didn't explode. They kept fighting, their redundant systems kicking in exactly as Daun had designed. All ships return fire, Jiwoo ordered. Target their command nodes. Let's see how well they coordinate without a brain. The Allied fleet responded with precision. Railguns fired in coordinated volleys. EMP torpedoes disabled harvester formations. Alien beam weapons, now powered by human reactors, punched through harvester armor. The battle became chaos, but it was controlled chaos. Human doctrine at work. Da-Yun watched from the Unity's engineering deck as her gravity weapon prototype came online. It was experimental, based on technology the humans had barely begun to understand. But if it worked, it would change everything. Captain, the gravity weapon is ready, she reported. Fire when ready, Commander, Jiwoo replied. Da-Yun pressed the activation sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to twist. The center of the harvester formation collapsed inward, ships crushing together as artificial gravity pulled them into a single point. Hundreds of harvester vessels were destroyed in seconds. The tide of battle turned. The harvesters tried to adapt, but they couldn't predict what the Allies would do next. Every time they countered one tactic, the humans switched to another. They were facing something they'd never encountered before. True creativity in warfare. The battle raged for 6 hours. Ships on both sides were lost. But slowly, inevitably, the harvester fleet began to break apart. Their coordination faltered. Their attacks became desperate. And finally, they began to retreat. Don't let them regroup, Jiwoo ordered. All ships pursue. We end this now. The Allied fleet chased the harvesters across 3 systems. Every time the enemy tried to stop and fight, they were overwhelmed. Crix, now commanding a Vothian battlecruiser, used his knowledge of harvester systems to identify weak points. Other alien captains contributed their own expertise. It was a true team effort. Hanul made the crucial discovery. Analyzing harvester communications, she found the location of their central control nexus, a massive station hidden in a dead system, coordinating all harvester operations. If we take out that station, the entire fleet shuts down, she explained to Jiwoo. But it's heavily defended. We'll need a strike team. Jiwoo looked at her crew. Taemin at weapons, Taeyun at engineering, Hanul at communications, Dr. Sung-ho standing by in medical. The team that had started this journey together. Then we go ourselves, she said. The Dauntless got us into this. It's only fitting she helps finish it. They transferred back to their old ship and led a small force to the Harvester Nexus. The station was massive, the size of a small moon covered in weapons and shields. Getting inside would be nearly impossible. Nearly, but not quite. Taeyun had been analyzing Harvester technology for months. She found a weakness in their shield harmonics. A specific frequency that would create a temporary gap. They'd have maybe 10 seconds to get through. 10 seconds is all we need, Jiwoo said. The Dauntless made its run. Harvester weapons fire filled space around them. But the old ship, upgraded and improved over months of combat, handled it easily. When the shield gap appeared, they shot through, entering the station's interior. Hanul worked frantically, connecting her computer to the Harvester systems. She uploaded a virus based on human cybersecurity protocols, designed specifically to corrupt the ancient programming. The Harvester AI fought back, trying to isolate the infection, but it was too late. Across the galaxy, every Harvester ship stopped moving at the same instant. Their weapons went silent. Their engines died. The great threat that had destroyed 3 civilizations was gone, eliminated by human ingenuity and allied cooperation. The celebration lasted for weeks. Every world in the galaxy seemed to be throwing parties. The Galactic Council held a formal ceremony, recognizing humanity's crucial role in saving civilization itself. Admiral Jiwoo stood before the assembled council, accepting their thanks with grace and humility. We didn't do this alone, she said. Every species contributed. Every ship made a difference. This was a victory for all of us together. The council voted unanimously to restructure itself. The old hierarchy was abolished. In its place came a true partnership with all species equal. And at the center of galactic defense, coordinating and leading, was Admiral Kang Jiwoo of Earth. 5 years passed. Human technology spread across the galaxy, freely shared and constantly improved. Joint research stations produced innovations that benefited everyone. Trade routes connected hundreds of worlds. The age of isolation was over. Jiwoo stood on the bridge of the Unity, now the flagship of a fleet that patrolled and protected the entire galaxy. Her crew had scattered to new assignments, but they stayed in touch. Daeun ran the largest engineering academy in history. Taemin commanded the tactical training facility. Hanul headed the Galactic Communication Network. Even Dr. Sung-ho had found his place, establishing medical standards that saved lives across dozens of species. Velshara visited often, now serving as Earth's closest ally and friend. Together they planned for the future. There were still unexplored regions of space, still mysteries to solve, still challenges ahead.